everyone. This is Rob Deininger with Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, and I'm here with Jack Degraw, and we are talking Yankees baseball. How you doing, Jack?
Good. How are you today, Robert?
I'm doing good. We got baseball around the corner.
Yeah, they're supposed to open the camps, I think, Thursday or Friday, and I know some of the Yankees have been down here since November, practicing at Steinbrenner Field, so, it's right around the corner.
Yeah, and the off season started off very slow for the Yankees, but then they had a flurry of activity. I mean, they re-signed DJ Lemayo, of course. They signed Corey Kluber, two-time Cy Young Award winner from Cleveland, and they traded 4 prospects to acquire, I think his name's Jameson, Taillon, and they also traded Adam Ottavino to the Red Sox, which saved them almost $7.5 million.
Yeah, I think they got rid of Ottavino because they signed Corey Kluber to like $11 million. So
yeah,
they had to make up the money somehow.
Yeah, they wanted to stay under the $210 luxury tax threshold, and right now they're roughly about $8 million under. And I know they want to save as much money as they can for the mid-season trades at the deadline.
Yeah, you want to start off with the pitching, Robert, or the question mark there?
Yeah, well, with the rotation, of course, Garrett Cole, he's a lock. He's a safe bet. But then you got Corey Kluber, Jordan Montgomery, the new pitcher Jameson, Taillon, Domingo Germán, Deivi Garcia, and Luis Severino, who they don't expect back until mid to late summer. And right now on paper, I mean, it looks good. But Corey Kluber and the pitcher they acquired from the Pirates, Taillon, they haven't pitched since May 1st of 2019. And they're both coming off injuries. So it's, high risk, high reward type of deal.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big question mark, and that it's a definitely concern. So I think you'll see Deivi Garcia, Clarke, Schmidt, Michael King like that. At some point they'll play a big part in the season because it's a big question. You're going in with guys who haven't pitched in a long time, and you don't know what you're going to get. I mean, Kluber could pitch one game, hurt his arm, and that's it. So
yeah, because in 2019, he was hit by a comebacker on his forearm that caused them to miss that year. And last year, he tore a muscle in his right shoulder, which caused him to end his season. So he's had 2 seasons back-to-back with injuries that are a little worrisome. And, of course, Taillon is coming off of Tommy John surgery. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, just on a side note, Robert, I heard like David Robertson, the Yankees were even looking at him the other day, the old, the relief pitcher.
Yeah, I always liked him. He was solid coming out of the bullpen. I think he even led the majors in saves when he was with the Yankees one year, the year he took over for Mo. Yeah,
he was an excellent pitcher. So if he's got anything left, we might see him in spring training too.
Yeah, and I heard James Paxton re-signed with the Seattle Mariners.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear that. I like Paxton. I mean, he got hurt, but I think last year, when you had the season that you had, I don't think the pitchers got a chance to, really get ready, and that's why you're seeing some weak pitching last year because you only had 60 games, and they had this 5 weeks of spring training, then you had maybe 3 weeks, in July to get ready. So you really didn't have the time. And I think guys like Paxton needed the time.
Yeah, because Paxton was a notoriously slow starter. I mean, if you look at his first half compared to the second half of the season, he's usually lights out in the second half.
Yeah, a few years ago when, he pitched great the second half of the season. The last 2 months he was lights out, and even in the playoff he did a great job.
Yeah, and Tanaka re-signed with this former team in Japan. It was hard to see him go. He was a Yankee favorite of mine.
Yeah, he was a good pitcher. He was solid, and 78 and 46, I believe. He signed for 2 years, Robert, but I think he can opt out after the first year.
Oh, okay.
So, and he's only 32, so even if he pitches to 2 years, he'll be 34. I think at some point, we'll see him in the big leagues again.
I hope so. And do you know where Happ signed, or has he signed yet with somebody?
Geez, I don't really know. I'm just guessing. He might have re-signed again with the Phillies, but I'm guessing. Yeah, but our rotation, it looks good on paper, but you just don't know. I mean, right now, I would say our rotation would go Cole, Kluber, Montgomery, Taillon, and Domingo Germán as the fifth starter. And maybe Deivi Garcia could be the number 6 guy if you want to do a 6-man rotation or long relief, but he's definitely in their plans. But as of right now, I don't know what. Yeah, everything's up in the air. We'll have to see how these guys do in, spring training.
Yeah, and Luis Severino, when he comes back, that he's what they're calling a see-it guy, meaning they're not going to rush him. He'll probably pitch out of the bullpen and maybe spot start a game here or there, but I don't think you're going to, have him pitch a lot of innings if and when he comes back.
Yeah, you might see him get some starts like late August and September. Then, hopefully he'll be ready, for the playoffs.
Yeah. Yep. And DJ LeMayo, he signed that 6-year, $90 million contract. I was glad they got him back because, as a leadoff hitter, the numbers he puts up are out of this world.
Yeah, there was talk there. He wanted 5 years, $125 million, or 4 years and $100 million. To get a great player now in the prime for 6 years, $90 million. Even if he goes south of the border after 3 or 4 years, it's still a great pickup to have. Yeah,
and on a side note, Gio Urshela, he had a bone spur removed from his elbow this past December.
Oh yeah, I wasn't even I didn't even know that. He's been an excellent player for the Yankees. Makes you wonder. Here we go again. What are they going to do with Miguel Andujar?
That's the thing. Gio Urshela, he's great at third base. He's fantastic, Gold Glove type guy. But I still stand firm on Miguel Andujar as a much better hitter, given a whole season. They played only 60 games last year, and Gio did bat .298, but he disappeared in the postseason. And Miguel Andujar, he doesn't strike out as much, and he's a line drive hitter. And even when Andujar got to play last year, he started to get hot, and the minute he started to get hot, he got sent back down. And I just think if you gave Miguel Andujar every day at bats, he would be lethal. But again, it doesn't appear that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, I feel sorry for a guy like that. Here's somebody, Andujar could be in the big leagues, starting somewhere for somebody, and hitting 290 and 300. But he's still stuck, in AAA, and on the up for a few games, down for a few games. So really, it's great for the Yankees to have a guy like that, but it's hurting his career, I think.
Yeah, and I've had arguments with people, online that he's a horrible defender. He'll cost them games. And I'm like, do you remember 2019? He played the whole season at third base. We were still in the playoffs. He didn't hurt us that bad, and his offense more than makes up for whatever he lacked at third base. Especially when they put all the emphasis is on offense and analytics. I just think Andujar, I just love to see him get a shot, an opportunity, because even last year at spring training, Miguel Andujar was getting hot in spring training, and he was looking a lot better at the plate than Gio. But then COVID happened and spring training got shut down.
Yeah, I think the question, Robert, Andujar, he's not a terrible third baseman. You know, he's adequate. You know, so I mean, he's in the middle. It's not like, but you know, everything with the Yankees is you know under a microscope. So any error or throwing error he makes it look worse. But he's an adequate fielder, and you can work on that. He's got a terrific arm.
Yeah, because I think he's better suited for third base than the outfield. I mean, it's a lot. People don't realize it's not easy to play the outfield when you've never played it before.
No, it's a whole different thing. And I mean, if they want to make him versatile, you know, have him in the outfield. And even if you get down here in Florida, playing left field in the outfield with the high sky and the wind blowing, it's probably harder to play the outfield down here than it is, you know, you get in the big league parks during the season.
Yeah. And Brett Gardner, he stated that he intends to play this year, but he's waiting on the Yankees to offer him a contract first. And there have been rumblings the last few days that they're going to, you know, contact him and give him an offer. And I love Gardner. I think he's been a great guy, a great player for them, a great leader. He's loved in the clubhouse, but I mean, the last several years, his numbers continually go down. And last year, he had career lows in batting average, home run, and RBIs. And I think offensively, he's done. He's nowhere near the player he was.
Yeah, I mean, I remember Gardner down here in Tampa in 2006. So he's been with the Yankee organization forever. And I mean, he's been a good player. You know, he's done a lot for the team, and he's. But it's time to, like, you know, get Clint Frazier in there, you know, because if you bring Gardner back, you know, at some point Judge will get hurt or Hicks will get hurt, and you're going to have, you know, Gardner getting 400 or 500 at bats. And it's time, you know, like, give Tauchman a chance and let Frazier play and, you know, get guys in the minors up because, you know, the Brett Gardner era hopefully is over. Even though I like him to play.
Yeah, because the last 2 years, Clint Frazier had stretches where he was carrying the offense for a week or two. And each time he got the bad news that you're going back down, you know, and I feel for him because he's proven the last couple of years that he can hit in this league and be very productive. And I just think, you know, you're wasting his prime, you know, by giving his at-bats away.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I agree with you. It's time to, like, you know, move on and, you know, give him a chance. And I mean, you know, if Gardner wants to play, you know, good luck to him. I mean, I don't think any Yankee fan wishes him, you know, a bad year or anything.
Because you would have Tauchman as your fourth outfielder, and you always have Tyler Wade who can play every position on the field. You know, so if you need another outfielder, I mean, he could fill in unless there's another option they can go with. But because, you know, Judge is going to be hurt at some point, as is Hicks. It just seems inevitable every year.
Yeah, I mean, Hicks gets hurt a lot, and then Judge, I mean, he's coming up for a big contract in 2 years, and I mean, I think over the next two seasons, you want to see him play 140, 150 games at least because, I mean, you want to commit a big contract, you know, to a guy like that who's an outstanding player when he stays on the field, but you got Hicks for another 5 years. Yeah, I believe you have Stanton for another 6 years. I mean, there's a lot of money wrapped up in these guys. Yeah,
and another player who needs a redemption year is Gary Sanchez. I mean, in 156 at-bats last year, he batted .147 with only 10 homers and 25 RBIs, and he had 64 strikeouts in 156 at-bats, and he was benched 5 out of the 7 postseason games.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and the bad thing is, you know, Cole don't like to pitch to him. I mean, on the positive side, I mean, if you add up for over 500 at-bats, you're going to have 30 homers and 85 RBIs. I think he deserves one more chance with the Yankees.
Yeah.
But if he don't produce, you know, this year, I mean, you can't have everybody striking out in the middle of the lineup. It's just, if he doesn't do the job this year, I think you have to look elsewhere.
Yeah, and like you said with Cole, I mean, is Cole going to start the season out pitching to him, or is Cole going to want, was he Higashi? Is that his name?
What's that, Robert? Or?
The other catcher behind Sanchez.
Kyle Higashioda, yeah.
Yeah. Is Cole going to want him, or is he going to try Sanchez again to start off the year? Because, I mean, when your best pitcher doesn't want to throw to him, that's a big deal.
Well, I think, you'll see Cole and Sanchez, work together in spring training. You'll probably see them in some spring training games because, if you don't have your number one catcher and your number one pitcher don't want to pitch to you, that's a problem.
Yeah. I mean, and the Yankees are predicted to win 96 games this year and win the American League East. I think Tampa Bay is predicted to win 85 games. So, I mean, the Yankees, at least Vegas thinks they'll win this division by at least 11 games, but it all comes down to the starting pitching. I mean, it could be really good or it could struggle. I mean, I'm so uncertain about this, but you need at least Kluber or Taillon to have a good year, one of those two, and Montgomery needs to have that breakout year.
Yeah, I mean, during the regular season, the hitting can overcome.
Yeah.
Because they're still. I mean, the Yankees are still one of the top, in the top 3 or 4 teams in baseball. Top 2 or 3 teams at the very least in the American League. So they're just better than a lot of the other teams. They can outslug a lot of the other teams. But the question is that it's been every year for like the last 15 years, is you get in the playoffs, and it's a whole different game.
Yeah. And I saw an interesting stat today that was pretty cool. Since 1900, the Yankees have the most wins of any team with 10,378. And the team with the second most wins is the New York San Francisco Giants with 9,891.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that chart you sent me, Robert. And the interesting thing is the Yankees didn't even get into the top 10
until the 30s or 40s, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's how good the Giants were. I mean, the Red Sox were terrific at the start of the last century.
Yeah.
But it was a pretty interesting. It was a pretty interesting stat, and it shows you how good the New York Giants were for a long time. San Francisco.
Yeah, even the Cincinnati Reds were up there at the beginning of the century, in the 19th or the 20th century. I was surprised.
Yeah, they had a lot of good teams in the first 40, 50 years. We're going back 100 years or so.
Yeah,
but the Red Stockings had a lot of really good teams. Yeah,
because I saw something the other day. It was the Black Sox when they threw the World Series. They were playing the Reds, the White Sox, in 1919.
Yeah. Well, we can talk a little about the scandal of the 1999. One of the reasons they called them the Black Sox is because Comiskey, the owner, wouldn't wash their uniforms. They had to pay for their own uniforms to get washed.
Yeah, he was notoriously stingy when it came to money. And those players, that's why they were so easily bribable.
And I think, he told Seacott if he won 30 games, he'd get a bonus. And he had 29 wins, and he went pitching the last 10 days, 2 weeks.
That's right. Yeah.
And then when they won the pennant, he sent champagne down, and it was flat. So,
God, he was an asshole.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I mean, a lot of those owners were back then, and
yeah,
they haven't changed much to this day. So
yeah, I mean, that's the other thing with the CBA coming up. I mean, the players and owners, they don't seem to want to agree. They just want to fight, and I don't get it.
Yeah, it sounds like The politicians. There's no. I mean, we could see this coming last year. They could have started the season. It would have been great, maybe like July 4th. But they argued, and then they had a 60-game season, and they're now. I mean, the players, I think, come out with something good when they said, let's delay spring training for maybe 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And they could have, but now, you're coming down here. People are still concerned about the virus. And it's like, you're right. They don't agree on anything.
No.
And I think they're going to have a new thing coming up.
And those ridiculous rules that they implemented last year with extra innings starting with the runner on second, and a relief pitcher has to face 3 batters before you can take him out, and that kind of stuff. And they couldn't even agree on a universal DH, which I think would benefit the players, and they rejected it. They didn't want it. It's crazy. I mean, I'm pretty sure. I think that's what it was. The players didn't want it. I'm not sure, but I mean, that would have benefited a lot of players because, having a DH in the National League, that opens up more jobs for hitters.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I like the DH. Now, I know a lot of people don't, and I respect that, the National League fans.
Yeah. But,
starting a runner on second in extra innings, that's a terrible rule.
Yeah.
The three, you have to pitch to 3 batters, and then, the 7-inning double headers. I mean, these just things is, but I think this is the way it's going to be because this is the new generation baseball, and this is what the fans want to see, or not the fans, this is what the owners want. And, the fans who don't like this, well, in another 15, 20 years, we won't be around to complain about it. So,
yeah.
It's just the way it's going to be.
I think one of the things they really need to do is create a little bit more excitement with the offense. And one of the ways I think you do it is by eliminating the shift, meaning you can't have the shortstop pass, towards, past second base, and you can't have the second baseman pass second base towards shortstop. I mean, just make it a little bit easier to put runs up on the board. I hate the shift because every team uses it on every player, and it drives me crazy.
Yeah, I mean it's the new age game, and I mean you don't see the hit and run anymore and the stolen base, and it's just it's just like the video games, and I think all the younger fans, that's what they want to see.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm old fashioned, but I like to see a coach, a manager, going up against another manager and who can outwit who, but now they got, a book that tells them everything to do in every situation based on what the numbers tell them to do, and the game's lost a certain feel to me, and it's really kind of, I've lost interest I've lost interest in baseball a bit.
Well, I've always loved sports. I've always played them and always watched them, and I've lost a lot of interest, Robert. I mean, I don't watch basketball. I don't watch hockey. I don't watch football. Yeah. The only thing I'm really interested in anymore is the Yankees. And, I mean, I used to know every player in the big leagues, and now it's like, I don't feel a part of the game anymore. I don't think a lot of the older fans really don't feel like, a part of the game. The people can't go to the games, and you just it's just changed so much. It's not really a lot of fun anymore. Yeah,
there's very little interaction among the fans, and the players they don't care. I mean, they really don't. They don't want to interact, and that baseball wanted Mike Trout to be the face of baseball, and he turned him down. He didn't want to be, the guy doing the commercials and promoting the game. He didn't want to do it. And, and that goes for a lot of players. They just want to play, but they don't want to do any of the other stuff. They want to get paid, but they don't want to, be an ambassador for the sport either.
Well, I'll tell you, Robert, when I come down here for spring training, now here I go. in 2005, it was great. You can interact with the players, and you could get close to the workouts, and you go over the minor league complex, and if they hit baseballs over, you could get home run balls and stuff. Now you can't do any of that.
Yeah.
It's like they don't want the fans to be there. I mean, the worst thing to me, when they hit practice home runs at the minor league camp, they got guys on carts, and if the fans pick them up, they want them to give them back, and then they say they're going to call the cops on them.
Jesus Christ.
This is the Yankees who are paying $11 million to Corey Kluber, who might not even pitch, and they're worried about a friggin' minor league baseball.
Yeah.
And another thing, Robert, the tickets were $13 when I came down. There used to be a lot of tickets under $10. Okay, if you want to make $20, $25 in spring training, $10, $20, that's fine. But the Yankees now, it's like $41 if you're a season ticket holder. And if you buy something at the gate, it's $55. This is a spring training game.
Jesus. Yeah.
When you go to spring training, you want to see Judge and Stanton. And now you're going to see Charlie Ugats and Bafangul play. And it's like, it's just ridiculous. And I don't know.
That's the other thing. During the regular season, all of a sudden, guys are not in the lineup, and it's because the numbers told them this is the day that they need off. And it just drives me crazy because I remember a few of them were on a hot streak. I remember Clint Frazier specifically, and it was we didn't play him because today was his scheduled day off. They pre-planned this, before the season starts through analytics. They know every game that this particular player is going to take off, and that's little stuff like that drives me crazy. You never bench a guy. You never bench a guy who's in the middle of a hot streak, no matter, just because the numbers said today is a good day to give him a day off.
Well, Robert, look what happened last year in the playoffs. You start Garcia, he pitches one inning, and then you bring in Happ.
Yeah.
And this is the playoff.
Yeah. Start one or start the other, but don't screw with their mentality before they go. That's crazy.
Look in the World Series. Snell's pitching a great game. They couldn't touch him.
Yeah, and they took him out.
The guys he's facing were like 0 for 8 with 6 strikeouts. You take the friggin' guy out of the game. You bring in a reliever who's burnt. He's pitched so much, and you wind up losing the game, losing the series, and then you trade Snell anyway.
Yeah. I think they traded him to the Padres.
It's crazy. I can understand if you're in May or June, okay.
Yeah.
But this is the playoffs. This is the World Series. What are you saving them for?
Yeah, that's like if a starting pitcher gets a high pitch count by the 4th inning, they're likely to take him out in the 5th. They don't want pitchers facing a lineup the 3rd time because the numbers say that's when their ERA starts to jump, is when they're going through the batting order for the 3rd time. So if a pitcher has a high pitch count in the 4th, he's coming out in the 5th. And if he has a high pitch count in the 5th, he won't be in for the 6th. It's ridiculous. Sometimes you got to see what kind of pitcher you have and when, if he can dig down deep and pitch through it. But they go by strictly what the numbers tell them regardless, unless you're like a Garrett Cole who can call his own shots.
Yeah, there's some good things about it. If it can help make a player better. But, one of the things is when you're in the dugout and you watch something, that should be the telltale sign right there.
Yeah.
But, guys like Boone, they're not going to go against it because they won't have a job. Girardi went against it, and he's with the Phillies. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and Boone, he sort of, his bullpen got burnt out a few times last year. Even though it was a shortened season, he went to the bullpen quick last year. And a lot of those guys, got burnt, and he was mixing and matching the rest of the season.
Well, that's what that's what the analytical guys say. I mean, I remember last year in spring training, Robert, I was down there the one day, and Cole was pitching like the live hitters.
Yeah.
And behind him, it took him like 10, 15 minutes to set up all these, machines and stuff. And it looks like, a mad scientist. And you're doing this with a guy throwing a baseball.
Yeah.
And you got 8 or 10 guys standing down there, they look like guys who played in the band. Not that there's anybody wrong with somebody who played in the band, but it's like, this is what, you're basing your decisions on. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, imagine Ricky Henderson playing in today's era. I mean, I don't think we'll ever see a player like a Ricky Henderson again, or Vince Coleman,
No. Everything is hit the ball as far as you can, and and it hurts you when you get in the big games because the pitchers are better, and we can see how the Yankees haven't come up big in a long time, even though they have a lot of outstanding players who put up big stats. But until they get that big hit or pitch that big game, it's like Yogi, Mickey, and DiMaggio are legends for a reason.
Yeah. And the thing that drives me nuts is Aaron Hicks batting third, which he'll be in the third spot again. This is a guy who hasn't played more than 100 games. He's got a .250 career batting average as a Yankee. Averages about 15 homers a season and 50 RBIs a year. I mean, he does have a good on-base percentage because he draws walks, but in the postseason, you're facing, good to great pitching, and those walks aren't going to come like they did during the regular season. And if you got a .250 hitter batting third, it's going to hurt you.
Yeah, I mean, you want to see somebody, dump a single in there once in a while with a guy on second.
Yeah.
In, the fifth game or something. And it just never happens. It hasn't happened for a long time. I mean, you go back to the last 20 years and look at you look when they get in big games, the Yankees, they just, don't come up big. These big name players.
And I think they feed off of their home crowd, but, given last year and this year at the pandemic, they're not going to have that home crowd. We'll see what the postseason is like if more people are allowed in the stadium. But, without that home crowd to feed on, it's like playing a road game almost.
Yeah, I mean, without fans in the stands, it's just, it takes so much away from it. And, I mean, as somebody who's a fan, I mean, if you can't go and watch it, the interest isn't there.
Yeah. And DJ Lemayo, he's their best hitter, and, he had a solid postseason. But, and I think Gardner did have a decent postseason. I think he had the highest batting average amongst them, but he wasn't productive as far as driving in runs. But otherwise, no one did anything. I mean, even Luke Voit, who had a great regular season, he couldn't do anything in the postseason.
Yeah, because a lot of these guys are just one-dimensional.
Yeah.
They walk or they hit homers, and, that's it.
Yeah, and when you face great pitching, you got to be able to put the ball in play, and striking out, it doesn't do the job.
Yeah, it's been going on a long time.
And the thing that really got to me last year in the postseason was Clint Frazier. They finally started him a game, and after the wild card game, the divisional series, he hits a home run, has a single, had 2 other balls that were hard hit, and then never gets another at bat in that series. I know Gardner was getting on base, but Clint Frazier's someone who could drive in runs. And after he had, the home run, and I think it was a single, but it could have been a double. But, a guy that can, drive the ball, to only get one game really, really got under me,
Yeah, well, that's the old time fans. That's the analytics. That's what drives people crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe the younger generation really loves the analytics, but for someone like me, I think it's going to be the death of baseball. Slowly.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's a new age fan, and then what they've done to the minor leagues. That sucks, and it's just a shame. I mean, eventually baseball is going to lose a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's always going to be popular because it's a world sport, but I think you're going to have a lot of people coming over from other countries playing.
Yeah, because I mean, all you see is home runs and strikeouts, and it's not like they're hitting a ton of strikeout. I mean, a ton of home runs. I mean, back in the day, you'd have someone that hit 50 home runs a season or was hitting a lot of home runs. But now everyone's hitting home runs. Whether it's 25 or 30. But I mean, it just seems like everyone's trying to hit a home run, and if they don't, they're striking out.
Yeah, and it's not only how many homers you hit, it's when you hit them.
Yeah.
The thing that drives me nuts, I mean, watching the Yankees, they can have a game, they'll win 14-7 and hit 7 home runs.
Yeah.
And then the next game, they'll lose 3-2, and they'll leave 15 men on base with 15 strikeouts. So.
Yeah. And that's like the old saying, you live by the home run, die by the home run, and that'll be true forever.
Yeah. And it happens a lot in the big games.
Yeah. And touching back on their bullpen, like we said at the beginning, Ottavino was traded, and they signed Darren O'Day, the sidearm thrower, for $2.5 million. He's 38 years old. He's a solid pitcher, but you got to wonder if how effective he'll be in that bullpen.
Well, I think he'll be a guy. I was going to say he pitched to one batter, but you can't. He'll pitch. He'll just come in. I think he'll pitch a lot, but he won't face like a lot of hitters. So usually you can piece together a bullpen. They got a lot of big arms in the minors, so I think the bullpen will be all right.
Yeah, we got Zach Britton and Chapman. I think this might be Chapman's last year of his contract. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure this might be his final year of his contract.
Yeah, and you got to figure. I mean, the guy's still a good reliever.
Yeah,
but he's not what he used to be because he don't throw as hard. And like 99-100, isn't what it used to be. I mean, they have pitching machines now that high school kids can face that throw 100 miles an hour. So it's not like the novelty it used to be.
Yeah, and Chad Green's still with the Yankees, and I know he had a rough go last year. I'm hoping he has a bounce back year. But he's another pitcher that only has really 2 pitches. The fastball and that slider. But,
yeah, they tried to mix in something else, but he didn't get a chance to work on it too much. And
Jonathan Loaiza, I liked him. A couple of years ago when they brought him up for the first time to start, he started 8 games and went 7-0. And since then, he's been a little bit inconsistent coming out of the bullpen. I wonder what kind of role they can find for him because he does have good stuff.
Yeah, he's got a big time arm, and I think if one of those guys who coming back from injuries, I think Loaiza could play a part also. So they've got arms. They've got arms, but the big thing is will they stay healthy?
Yeah, and I was thinking about this the other day with in regards to Severino. He had that, really high fastball. I mean, a lot of speed to his fastball, and his slider he threw really hard, and it had a lot of spin and break to it. But if his arm's not the same and he's not throwing as hard as he used to, that would affect his slider, which is his best pitch. So I'm curious when he does get back, what he looks like. Because even if you lose a couple miles an hour off your pitches, that can hurt.
Well, that could be the reason why when he comes back, they'll put him in the bullpen. because when you come out of the bullpen, you can get by with 2 pitches.
Yeah. And
when you're starting, you have to have 3, at least 3 pitches, and even 4. So, when they're bringing back slowly, if he'll get by with the 2 pitches, then, if he gets stronger, they can add something.
Yeah. And Esteban Florio, do you know how old he is offhand? Oh, yeah, he was born in 97, so he's in 24. His mid-20s. Yeah. I liked him. He has a tremendous amount of speed. If he could learn to put the ball in play, he could be a nice option to have, to bring up and to have on the bench for the outfield. He
got into a few games last year, but what hurt a lot of those guys is, missing a year of development in the minor league. And, we can talk a little bit about that, Robert. I don't think the minor leaguers come in until late March or April. They haven't even announced when they're going to begin the season.
Yeah. I know that kid Jason Dominguez they signed. He couldn't even play last year because of the pandemic. He went back to, I think, Puerto Rico and just worked out every day. And this year he just turned 18 this past week. So he'll be able to start playing in the Yankees organization. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do in his first, pro season in the minors.
He's huge, Robert.
Yeah, he put on, I think he was 190, and now he weighs 220. So he put on 30 pounds of muscle last year. Yeah.
One of the things we didn't mention, Robert, is the Judge and Stanton and guys like that. They're not doing as much with the weights in the off season.
Well, that's good because those bodies.
Judge is doing yoga, and if you notice, they haven't posted all those videos. When they're pulling trucks or whatever, and then they get hurt running the first base. So I think they're trying to get a little flexibility.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see if Voit, if he comes into camp a little bit lighter than he was last year, because he lost a little weight for last season, and he led majors and homers. So hopefully he continue to slim down a little bit, because he had a good year last year during the regular season.
Yeah, I mean he really slimmed down, and he looked super last year. I know they had an interview with Mike Ford I watched about a week and a half ago, and Ford saying he's been down here. Ford, Voit, and a few other guys, they've been working out at Steinbrenner since mid-November.
Wow. Yeah, and going back to Stanton and Judge, those bodies, the frame, I mean, that's not a normal baseball player's body frame. They're big guys, and it's hard for them not to break down. So, I mean, fingers crossed, but it seems like every year Stanton gets hurt and Judge gets hurt. And I think we talked about this last year. Stanton, I think, only played one full season in his career.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Robert, these guys are so big.
Yeah.
And they're like athletic. They're not just like, big guys. You always had some big guys in baseball, and who would, they were good players. They could hit with power, but these guys can run and they throw their body around. And when you're 6'7", 6'8", you start throwing your body around after standing around the outfield for sometimes having a ball hit to you. You get hurt.
Yeah. And did you see the picture of Aaron Judge standing next to Shaquille O'Neal? Shaq
No, I didn't see that.
Shaq made Aaron Judge look like a small guy. I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, Shaq was like like the Earth, and Judge was like the moon. I mean, Judge was so small compared to Shaq. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, when you see a basketball player over 7 feet up close,
yeah.
It's unbelievable, Robert. USF, the college, they had this basketball player a few years ago. He was like 7'3".
Jesus.
And I seen people. My friend played football in college, and he was standing by him. He looked like a little kid.
Yeah, that's like Shaq. He's like 7'1", 7'2", like 330 to 350 pounds. He's a monster of a man.
It's unbelievable. I mean, Robert, I remember going to the U.S. Open years ago, and Wilt Chamberlain happened to be sitting a few rows over. This was on an outside court. And Wilt was in the third row, and his feet were like on the ground. I mean, it's amazing how big they are. You don't realize it on TV but when you're up close, it's like, holy shit, this is unbelievable.
I can remember when I went to that playoff game in '95, and the Yankees entered first, and all of them were relatively normal-sized people. I mean, Donnie was shorter than I thought, but then the Mariners showed up, and like Jay Buhner, Edgar Martinez, Ken Griffey Jr., these guys were so much bigger than the Yankees. I couldn't believe it. I mean, it was unreal, but I've never gotten to see like a basketball player or another athlete, standing side by side. But the Mariners, I can remember how big the Mariners were compared to the Yankees.
Yeah, the Mariners had some big boys, and if they could assign those guys, the Yankee dynasty from 96 through 2001, might have been a lot different.
Yeah, the Mariners, I mean, they had A-Rod, Griffey, Buhner, Martinez, Edgar Martinez, and Tino Martinez. I mean, Jesus, they had some offensive weapons on that team at one point.
Yeah, and I mean, if they could assign those guys, the big contracts, they would have been there every year too. So
yeah. But yeah, so what are you looking forward to in the spring training? Any players that you're going to keep an eye on or anything like that?
Geez, I don't know, Robert. There's so much limited access this year.
Yeah.
They revised the schedule the other day.
Yeah, that's right.
And instead of playing 32 games, they're going to play 28. And they're going to have limited access too. I think they're only going to like 2,000 to 2,500. I believe the Yankees are going to have 2,500. So I don't know about the ticket situation. I don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. I mean, it seems to change all the time. So.
Yeah, I'm looking at the schedule right here. It says the Yankees' first game is February 28th against the Blue Jays at Steinbrenner Field.
Yeah, they revised it to knock out off the trip. So they're going to be playing the Jays, the Phillies, the Tigers, and the Pirates. I think they're going to play the Orioles too.
Yeah.
But it's going to be like maybe 7 games each, so it's going to eliminate a lot of the travel.
Yeah, and the Yankees this year, I mean, their division, Boston appears to be tanking in order to rebuild. The Orioles, they just stink, and the Rays traded away their best pitcher. The Blue Jays got a lot of young talent, but I mean, otherwise, it's a relatively weak division the Yankees are in. This season.
Yeah, I mean, the Rays, I know, have a great minor league, and they always seem to put together outstanding teams, which, all the credit to them. They've done a great job in Tampa. The Red Sox, they've done that a lot over the years. They're weak for a year or two, and then they rebuild, and then they get in the World Series and they win it. Toronto's up and coming, but they're going to be good, I believe, but they're still a year or two away. And the Orioles, well, good luck to them.
Yeah, I'm trying to see the non-roster invitees. Do you know if they're yesterday I saw Tim Tebow, the Mets, invited him to spring training, and it's got a lot of people upset that they're wasting a spot on him and not someone else that might be more deserving.
Well, I like Tebow. I wish him luck, and it's they're trying to make money. The owners are trying to make money, and a guy like that is going to bring fans in. Yeah,
I wish he would shorten up his swing and try to just hit home runs, because he has a very long swing, and he appears to just he's trying to make contact. I think he would have a better chance if he just tried to crank each pitch out of the ballpark, because he's very strong, and I think the only way he gets a chance at getting a call up one day is if he's swinging for the fences.
Yeah, I think not playing baseball all those years. I mean, he's trying to do what a lot of the guys should do now: shorten their swing.
Yeah,
but he's taken away his biggest asset, is his natural power.
Yeah.
So, I wish him luck. I hope he hope he does well, and I hope he plays some games in the big leagues. And I'm sure it'll get fans will go see him.
Oh yeah. And looking here, the depth chart. Yeah, Greg Allen, Florio, Frazier, Hicks, Judge, Stanton, and Tauchman are the outfielders as of right now on the roster.
Well, Allen's got some speed. He's got some, he'll be a good guy to have in AAA, and, you can bring him up sometime.
And I don't know who the 4 prospects were that the Yankees traded to get that pitcher from Pittsburgh, but I don't think there were any of their top prospects.
No, I think the highest rated one was 15th. They've got a lot of talent in the lower minors, allegedly. Nobody played last year, so, it's got to hurt the guy's development. But there was nobody who, was going to make an impact this year with the Yankees. Now with the Pirates, maybe a couple of those guys will, get an opportunity. So that's good for them.
Yeah. And I lost my train of thought there for a second. I was going to I'm looking at the stats from last year. DJ Lemayo batting .364. Clint Frazier batted .267 with 8 home runs and 26 RBIs and just how many at-bats or how many games? 39 games. Yeah, I just hope Frazier gets, to play full time, and pray to God that they don't re-sign Brett Gardner.
Yeah, I mean, you add that up, that's like 25% of the season.
Yeah.
And you add that up, and I mean that's like 36 homers and 104 RBIs.
Yeah.
And as much as we all love Gardy, that he's not going to give you that, and he never has.
And Glaber, he batted .243 last year. He had a down year last year. He seems to get in those home run stretches where he's trying to hit home runs instead of just, putting the bat on the ball. He's better when he's just trying to swing through the middle, but he gets in those stretches where he's home run happy. So I'm hoping that he can cut back on that, because when he just tries to, make contact, he's a really good hitter.
Yeah, and I think another thing, he was concentrating too on moving back to shortstop.
Yeah, true.
And he's a little above average shortstop. He could be a good shortstop, but the defense at times hurt the Yankees last year.
Yeah,
and, yeah. When you see Deivi play short, and then you see Glaber does a nice job, but Deivi was elite. And
he made it look so easy too, Deivi.
Yeah. And I mean, the best shortstop the Yankees have is I think is Tyler Wade.
Yeah. I mean, he could play any position in the field, I think, except catcher. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like I'm looking at last year's stats. I mean, Aaron Hicks only batted 225. Gardner batted 223. Gary Sanchez, like I said, 147. I mean, he needs to have a bounce back year. Otherwise, it's probably over for him in the Yankees uniform.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I believe it. It wasn't a bad thing giving him another chance because with his production offensively, you're not going to get that from maybe any other catcher.
Yeah,
it's time for okay, this could be it.
Yeah, because I think this last year was it was definitely the second year in a row he batted under 200, but I think it might have been 3 years in a row that he's batted under 200.
Yeah, and I mean, it's getting to the point now. I mean, he has to have a good year to have a career.
Yeah.
I mean, if he don't hit well this year, I mean, I think you'll have teams will take a chance on him. But this is pretty much is he going to is he going to be in baseball in another 3 or 4 years? So that's what it could boil down to.
And I forget how much he got in arbitration. I think he got something like around $15 million to bring him back.
Yeah, I don't know if he got that much because they still, he don't have a lot of leverage.
Yeah.
Maybe he got $8 or $9 million, but don't quote me, Robert. I could be wrong.
Yeah. And I'm bringing up the pitcher stats from last year. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, they traded Tommy Connelly away. What was it, before last season? Or he was hurt last year.
Yeah, he went to the Dodgers.
Yeah, the Dodgers are loaded with pitching.
Yeah, he went to the Dodgers. I don't even think he can pitch this year.
Yeah. But yeah, Zach Britton last year had a 1.89 ERA. He was fantastic for him. And Cole, he was everything that was advertised. He was 7-3 with a 2.84.
Yeah, he pitched good in the playoffs. Excellent in the playoffs.
Yeah. And Aroldis Chapman was pretty good. He had a 3.09 ERA. And how many saves did he have? 3 saves out of 5 opportunities. So he didn't have many save opportunities, but he pitched well.
Yeah, I mean, the bullpen, I'm not too concerned about the bullpen. They can put something together there.
Yeah. And how about that young pitcher, Albert Abreu? Do you think he's someone to keep an eye on?
Yeah, he's been with the organization for I believe 5 or 6 years. They've always liked him. He never put together the great stats, but he has the talent to pitch in the big leagues, and I think he'll get a shot this year. That's one of the guys you look for in spring training. Yeah. Another thing, right? Before I forget, they're going to eliminate inter squad games in spring training.
Oh, good.
So guys can't, they can't play inter squad games.
Yeah, well, actually, those are pretty helpful for the players, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah. That, if they have an off day, they can send them over, and that's another thing, Robert. They won't have the the minor league spring training during the major league camp. So, going over to Himes and seeing Judge play or guys pitch, you're not going to be able to see it this year, as of now.
Yeah, oh, man, it sucks. And the Yankees had to designate Ben Heller for assignment to make room for Darren O'Day.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a rough go of it. He seems to just always hang around, but he's had some injury problems, and hopefully, I think he'll come back to the Yankees, or it might be better for him just to hook on with somebody else, and get a shot to be in the bigs.
Yeah, I think the Yankees will have, they'll have a great regular season. I mean, both Yankees and Mets are predicted to win their divisions by a comfortable margin. It would be nice if both the Mets and Yankees could make a run at the World Series this year.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a big boost to New York, and what's going on up there. From what I understand, New York could use a boost.
Yeah, and I'll give the Mets credit with the new ownership and whatnot. They're trying to put together a really good team. And they got Lindor from the Indians to play shortstop. I don't know much about him, but apparently he's one of the best shortstops in the majors.
Yeah, he's an outstanding player. And the Mets, they got new ownership and they've invested money. So, if you're a fan, that's what you want to see. That's what George used to do. You go out and get some big names, and you hope they perform up to their potential.
Yeah, and our rotation. If someone does get hurt, I mean, we got Deivi Garcia and Clarke Schmidt who can fill in. I think both those guys got a bright future ahead of them. I really like Clarke Schmidt.
Yeah, well, there's guys we can watch in spring training. That's going to be that's something. I assume they're going to show the games back to New York. I haven't seen the schedule yet because everything's up in the air with the broadcast schedule. But I think you guys will be able to see it up there in the tri-state area.
That was the thing that pissed me off last year. They did show some spring training games on Yes, but there were a lot of games they didn't broadcast for some reason. I didn't understand it. So I'm hoping they don't repeat that this year. Yeah, I mean,
as of now, Robert, they don't know what's going on. I mean, they just changed the schedule the other day.
Yeah.
And you don't know if they're going to have broadcasters down here or the media's coming down. You really don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you remember last year at the beginning of the season, all the players the Marlins lost due to COVID. I mean, they were playing with the minor league team for long stretches of time to begin the season last year. So you don't know what kind of impact COVID's still going to have going forward.
Yeah, I think, Robert, if everybody was concerned about the COVID as they said they were, the owners and the players union, they would have delayed it for like 3 weeks, starting mid-March.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting too for me to see how many fans go to the games down here because most of the Yankee fans, I mean, most of the fans you see in spring training nowadays, I mean, the average age is deceased. You got they have all older fans. I mean, you don't have the younger crowd going to the game, the college kids, because they can't afford to go. So that's a sad thing to see.
Yeah, and Governor Cuomo of New York, he said, any stadiums or arenas that have over 10,000 seat capacity can, I think it's 10, it could be 20,000, but you can have 10% of the fans come in. So the Yankees got 52,000 plus seats, which means they'll be allowed to have over 5,000 fans attend the games. And that could get, higher as the season goes on. But at least there'll be some fans at Yankee Stadium when they start playing.
Yeah, I mean, they lost a lot of revenue last year.
Yeah. I mean, a lot. I think Yankees, from attendance, is like over 40% of their revenue or something like that.
Yeah, it's a shame for all the, around the stadium. I mean, it used to be, there are a lot of places to go eat, and, places like McDonald's and those mom and pop stores. I don't know if they have them anymore. Maybe Old Manny's Baseball Land. I don't know if I don't know if that's still around, but those guys had to take a killing last year because there was nothing.
I came across a great picture the other day, and it's Don Mattingly with Pete Rose. Must have been early in Mattingly's career. I don't know if it was at an All-Star game or what it was, but they're both in uniform.
Yeah, that had to be an All-Star game.
Yeah, because Pete Rose played until, 86?
Yeah, I believe so, and he managed too for a while.
Yeah,
so I think he was still in uniform in the early '90s.
Yeah, I still say Pete Rose belongs in the Hall of Fame, and I don't think anyone got selected for the Hall of Fame this year, did they?
No. I don't know if the Veterans Committee are going to put somebody in, and I think when Jeter goes in, they're going to have limited attendance, or if they have any fans up there. So everything, Robert, is still like, you flip a coin. You just don't know what's going to happen.
And I know people don't like Curt Schilling, but I mean, I kind of think, his career speaks for itself. I mean, he was a Hall of Fame pitcher, especially in the big games.
Yeah, he was a great pitcher. It's like if you have an opinion that people don't agree with anymore, they get they get butthurt. But on the mound, Schilling was outstanding.
Yeah. And I know Bonds, with steroids, but I mean, he was a 3-time MVP winner with Pittsburgh before he ever got to the Giants. I mean, he was a great player, great hitter, everything. I mean, he's another one that probably should be in the Hall of Fame along with Roger Clemens.
Yeah, well, offensively, Bonds, I mean, he's right up there with the greatest offensive players in the game.
Yeah.
And Clemens was outstanding, and I mean, it turns a lot of people off what they did, but I think a lot of the players are doing it, and I think to a certain extent they might still be doing it. I mean, years ago they used to take greenies, which would hype them up. So, you can take everything in the world, but if you don't have the talent to do it, you don't have the coordination. You're not going to be able to do it.
And Bug Seal has a lot. He deserves a lot of blame because after that strike in the '90s, people weren't watching baseball until Sammy and McGuire started hitting home runs. And it was no secret that steroids were rampant, but Bug Selig, he turned a blind eye because it was helping ratings, and then before he was going to retire, he wanted to clean up his legacy.
Yeah, well, I mean, it got people to watch the games, and it got the interest up, so they knew what was going on, and they didn't do nothing because, the almighty dollar rules, and that's it.
And it was strange how when they did that secret drug test and over 126 people tested positive for steroids, but the only name that got leaked was Alex Rodriguez, and they made him the poster boy at the time. And I'm pretty sure Major League Baseball had a hand in that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, A-Rod's an interesting case. I mean, personally, he's the best player I ever seen. Yeah.
I mean,
he had, a terrific work ethic, and, he's turned his image around. And I know he sued the Yankees in Major League Baseball. But, I mean, there's no either side doesn't have a halo over their head.
No.
They're all dirty to a certain extent. They're pissed off at what A-Rod did, but A-Rod made them billions of dollars. He made the Yankees with the T-shirts, and I'm down here, and there's a lot of Latin Americans, and they love A-Rod.
Oh,
and he really turned his image around, and it's when it comes to baseball. I mean, he's like Pete Rose. It's like they have videos on YouTube with Rose and A-Rod and Frank Thomas talking hitting. It's just incredible. So A-Rod, when it comes to baseball knowledge, there's nobody like him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he not only does he just love the sport, but, yeah, you're right. His knowledge about hitting is up there with some of the greats. Ted Williams, Tony Gwynn, Pete Rose. I mean, they know baseball.
And when he was down here in spring training, when Cano was a rookie and guys in the minor leagues, I used to hear minor leaguers say when he'd go over to minor league camp, he would talk to them. He'd work with them. So, he still has a lot to offer baseball-wise, and I'm sure someday he'll be back, back in the game where he belongs.
Yeah, I mean, I know Jeter was the captain, but you're right. When A-Rod was a member of the Yankees, he was the one that was going over to the young kids and helping them out and giving them tips and pointers. And that's what a leader and a captain does, but he did it out of just pure joy of the game.
Yeah, well, Jeter was everybody loved Derek Jeter, and A-Rod to a certain extent became a villain, and
Yeah.
and it's not always the case. And I'll tell you, when I was down here, A-Rod was good to the fans. I've seen A-Rod sign a lot of autographs. I mean, some people have bad experiences, but overall, I thought he was great to the fans.
Yeah, there was a story about Jeter that came out a couple of years ago about when he was negotiating his last contract with the Yankees, and he was demanding to be paid like $25 million or somewhere that a really high figure, and they wind up going out to dinner, him, his agent, and Brian Cashman, and Cashman was only willing to offer him $18 million a year, and Jeter got up from the table, pushed his chair in, and told his agent, "You deal with this asshole," and walked away. And he called Brian Cashman an asshole, and he ultimately only got $18 million. But they said behind the scenes, Derek Jeter he wasn't a nice guy.
Well, I mean, towards the end there, Robert. I mean, we've been through this, and I don't want to go too long on the podcast.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I mean, when A-Rod came to New York, who was the better shortstop?
A-Rod to me was, yeah.
I mean, who went to play third base and did a great job at third?
Yeah.
And, and towards the end there, Jeter did lose a little defensively. And, I mean, he was a great player. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
He come around at the perfect time. When Jeter come around, I mean, he handled everything well. But you had Posada in their prime. You had Tino. You had Paul O'Neill. You had Bernie. You had Mo. You had Pettit. You had David Wells. I mean, the list is endless. And we can't forget Louis Soho too, because Louis deserves a shout out. But he just come along at a perfect time, and everything went, great there at the beginning of his career for 5 or 6 years, and he was a big part of it. So,
and I still remember that year A-Rod had for the Yankees where he won the MVP, where he hit 54 home runs. I mean, that was an incredible year. I think he holds the Yankee record for the most home runs from a right-handed hitter. I think that was, his second season with the Yankees?
Yeah, I mean, he struggled a little bit his first season like Stanton did, but he still had over 30 homers and 100 RBIs. So he was a special player. I mean, just to be able to see him up close practice was incredible. I mean, I seen him hit balls 350 feet with one hand, just swinging with one arm. I mean, it's incredible.
And I was glad to see him. He carried the Yankees through the postseason when they won the World Series in 2009. I mean, I think he drove in a total of 18 runs that season and in the postseason. And Matsui capped off the World Series. But A-Rod had a great postseason, carried them through to the World Series.
Yeah, I mean, he had some really terrible playoffs, but a lot of the guys did. But he had some good ones too. So. You want to wrap it up, Robert? Or?
Yeah. So what do you say, next week or the week after? We'll play it by ear?
Yeah, any time, Robert. Just let me know. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen next. They might cancel spring training. Who knows? We'll just see what happens. Just let me know. It's always a lot of fun to talk baseball, because that's all I talk about anyway. So,
All right, sounds good, Jack. And to all our listeners, we'll see you next time.